It's Sarah, and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet the Heidi headband. It's a really super cool headband. Now, we originally designed it with a braid down the center, which is done by loops and held with a button. It's completely adjustable for any size head, and I'll explain that to you when we get a little bit farther on in the video. It measures about 3 inches across, so it's a nice size headband to wear in the summer, in the spring, in the fall, and even in the winter. Now you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make the Heidi headband, you're going to need about 2 ounces of a number 3 light yarn. This yarn here is some leftover Mandala Sparkle, and I love it because it's 3 shades of yellow, and it was left over from another project, and I thought it would make a beautiful way to test our Heidi headband, and it is, and I love it, and I'm keeping this one. Yellow is my favorite color. For our demonstration today, I'm going to be using this Mandala. It is a striping yarn. It's got some lavenders, some blues, some pinks. We'll just see how that works out. And it's also left over from another project. So I've got about 2 ounces, and that's about what you need. And the Mandala on this one is a light number 3. This one says that it's a number 4, but it's very thin, and if you put it up with the yarn on this one, they're really about the same, and that's why I'm going to use this one. You can do it with a medium number 4. Just keep in mind it might be just a little bit bigger than the light number 3. And I'll explain to you how to measure everything when we get a little farther on. We're going to stitch today with our H hook, 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. You're going to need about a 1-inch button. You'll need your scissors, and then you'll also need a needle just to weave in your ends and to sew on your button. Now, go get in your yarn stash, grab some of your leftover yarns, and let's make a Heidi headband. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 11 chains. And again, we want to make this beginning chain just a little bit loose because we'll be making it in a long headband and putting those 2 bands together, and we don't want that end to be puckered up when we put it together. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 11 chains. Okay, now we're going to place 1/2 double crochet in the second chain from the hook. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. We're going to stitch 1/2 double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we have 5 half double crochets. We have double crocheted in the second chain from the hook, and then I did 4 more. Now we're going to chain 9 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We're going to join back to the top of that half double crochet, and I'm going to go in both of those top loops, and that's going to make it nice and secure. And we're going to slip stitch, so we'll pull the loop through there, then we'll pull that loop through the loop that's already on the hook, and now we're going to stitch 1/2 double crochet in those last 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 so we can see how that looks. We have 5 half double crochets, we chain 9, we joined to the top of that 5th half double crochet, and then we stitched 1 half double crochet in the last 5. And that's the way row 1 should look. We chained 1 and we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to just stitch 1 half double crochet in each of those 10 half double crochet stitches. Our chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and so we're going to half double crochet right in that first stitch, and then in each stitch across. We will not be making that chain 9 on this side. So there's our first 5. We're going to push that loop forward because that's going to be the front. And this is where it's very important to make sure you get that next stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You pushed that loop forward, and we want to make sure we get right in the top of that next stitch or we'll lose a stitch in there. Okay, so that would be 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And chain 1. So on the back it looks like that. Your loop is on the front, chain 1 and turn, and it looks like this. So we have 10 half double crochets, chain 1 and turn. So now for row 3, we chained 1, and on every row the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. It's just a turning chain. So we're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in the first 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 9 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This yarn is a little bit slick. All right, so we're going to slip stitch in the top of that half double crochet, and I'm going through the 2 loops at the top of that half double crochet. We'll pull that loop through, then we'll pull the loop through the loop of the chain of the one that's already on our hook there, and then we'll stitch 1 half double crochet in the last 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and chain 1. So now we have 2 loops. I usually go ahead and loop them as I go, but you can wait till the end if you want to loop them all at once. I usually just loop them as I go. But that's how row 3 should look. All right, let's do row 4. We've chained 1 and we're going to turn. We're going to push those loops to the front. We're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of those 10 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we need to make sure we push that over so we can get right in that next stitch. Here's 6, 7, 8, 9, and oops, there we go, 10. Chain 1 and turn. All right, so we have our 2 loops. We can go ahead and begin looping if we want to. Or you cannot. It's up to you. I like to loop as I go, like I said. Some people, when they're doing something like this with loops, they like to wait till the whole headband is done and then do all the looping. It's up to you. So what we're going to be doing is repeating row 3 and row 4 for 40 more rows. Now, the way the pattern works is 2 rows equal 1 inch. So for whatever size that you're making, you'll need to stitch 2 rows per inch. We're making a 22-inch headband, and so we're going to need to stitch 40 more rows, alternating row 3 and row 4. Keep in mind that this is very stretchy, and you want to probably, like, if this is going to fit a 24-inch head, you want to make it 22 inches. Yarn is stretchy and it will stretch out. So keep that in mind when you're doing your repeat rows. All right, so we're going to be repeating row 3 and row 4 for 40 more rows, alternating the 2 rows. So I have repeated row 3 and row 4 for 40 more rows. And here is my headband. Here's where I started on this one. It's a little different than the demo I was doing, but it's the same yarn. All right. And like I said, I like to do the loops as I go. But if you didn't, all you have to do is just loop them, starting at the bottom and working all the way up. All right. That's how the braid is formed in the center of our headband. All right. Now, make sure when you end on a row 4, so you have a solid row of the half double crochets across. We're going to take this with the braid on the inside and put the ends together. All right. And that's why I said at the beginning, make sure that your chain is a little bit loose so we can put the 2 ends together without any problem. All right, so we'll go through the first stitch here and the first stitch here. We're going to grab that loop on our hook, there we go, and pull that through. And we'll just make us a little chain 1 to get us up on top. And so now we have 10 stitches across. So we'll go right in that first stitch and we're going to stitch a slip stitch. So we'll go in on this side, and in the stitch on this side, we'll grab that yarn, pull it through, and then pull that loop through the loop that's on your hook. Now be careful not to pull this too tightly or it'll pucker at the bottom. And in reality, this is the front of our headband because we're going to hook that loop across with that button. All right, so we want to make sure we do this just a little bit loose. Go in the stitch on this side and the stitch on this side, pull through, and then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. One, two, three, four, five, 6. 7, 8, get out of the way there. 9 and 10. That string wants to give me trouble. There we go. Now we can tie this off, so we'll cut that. And we'll tie that off. Now these are together, so I'm going to make a little stay knot just like that to put them together. I'm going to show you how that looks. This is the outside or the inside. This is how it will look on the outside. All right, so let's take a minute or two and go ahead and weave this in so it's all taken care of and done. All right, so we're just going to go in those stitches, trying to go through the fibers one way and then the other. This is going to get a lot of wear and tear, so we want to make sure that we get that weaved in nicely. All right, let me do this other end and then we'll get that button all sewn on. So we've got the ends all weaved in, tidied up. We're going to turn it over to the right side. Here's our braid. Here's our last loop. And what we'll do is we'll put our button on here. We don't want that to pull too much, so we want to make sure we put it in the right spot. All right. So I've got some yarn already threaded onto my needle. And what I like to do is to come up from the bottom and just leave myself a little bit of string on the bottom there and go through some stitches and make a little loop. Then I'll take my button in the right hole there. And when you're sewing on to crochet, make sure you go in a stitch and maybe some of the fibers of the yarn so that it will stay nice and tight. If you go in those holes between, you might lose that button and it may not be on there nice and tight. Don't want to pull my string from the back there. All right. And you want to make sure you get this on good and sturdy because it's going to get a little wear and tear when you wear it. Whoops. There we go. And I'm going to go through those other holes one more time. Make sure you get a needle that can go through the holes of that button. Mine are already getting a little snug, which is all right. So my button's on there nice and tight. Take that needle out. We're going to turn it over, and we're just going to tie some knots. 1, 2, and then I like to do that little wrap knot. I know it has a name. I don't know what it's called. Well, you take both of them, whip them around like that, and pull them through. And then you push it all the way down to where the button is and clip it off. And I think that's going to hold it nice and tight. All right, so the last thing we need to do is to take this last loop and loop it over that button. And now we have an adorable Heidi headband. So here are both the Heidi headbands, and you can see this one's about the same size as this one. And so using that mandala worked great. And I love them both, this beautiful yellow one and this one with all the colors, with that adorable braid going right down the center. And just in case you're wondering about the stretchiness, very stretchy. And that's why I say be careful if you make it too big, because remember, when you're wearing something made out of yarn, it can get stretched out a little bit. All right, so keep that in mind when you're making these for yourself or for others.